Hey folks, Matt from artoftheimage.com. So following up on the top 5 best-selling Amazon video cards, or best-selling video cards on Amazon, the video we just did, as I mentioned, I'm looking to upgrade my video card. I've got an older GTX 670, which has been great for 1080, but over the last year or two, I have found it to not be great for 4K. I've basically been running the Adobe Premiere software in computer software rendering mode only. So I'm not getting a lot of help from my video card because of that. I found it was too much for the card. So I'm letting the machine, my i7 3930K, which is a 6-core with 32 gig of RAM, so it can handle that, but it's a choke point. So what I'm looking at for a good value card, what I've narrowed it down to is, I was very excited, as you knew in the past video, when the RX 480 came out, because you could get an RX 480 8 gig, and the base MSRP was $239.99. So that excited me. I was waiting to see how it worked out, and it seems to have settled out nicely. We had a little bit of a scare with power demands and heat and whatnot, but that seems to have been resolved fairly quickly, and people are quite happy with it. Then NVIDIA came out and offered their challenger, GTX 1060, which is spec'd at 6 gig of DDR5 versus the RX 480's 8 gig of DDR5. You can also get a 3 gig version of the 1060, and you can also get a 4 gig version of the RX 480. Now, there are those that are of interest to me or to any of you who do video editing, especially in 4K. You want the 8 gig or the 6 gig RX 480, 1060, respectively. But you have to try and decide now. I have to try and decide, and I'm sure some of you have been thinking about this. Do I want the 1060 with 6 gig, or do I want the RX 480 with 8 gig? On the surface of things, it seems like the 8 gig would be better, but then there's the history of Premiere Pro liking CUDA cores and seems to be tweaked for CUDA cores and the NVIDIA architecture versus the RX 480's OpenCL architecture, which is a little different, but apparently it's supported now by Premiere Pro. So I've done a lot of research, I've looked into it, and it seems like people, there's not a lot out there from what I've been able to find, but there are some people who have shown some results with the RX 480, and some of them have even run 2 RX 480s versus, say, a 1080, GTX 1080. And they seem to be getting very good results. They seem to be very close, the 1060 and the RX 480, or a pair of RX 480s and, say, a 1080. Which is a very high spec card. So I'm trying to decide, do I go 1060 and feel better maybe because maybe Adobe Premiere Pro is still more conducive to a card with CUDA cores and that type of architecture? Or do I go with the new RX 480 because it does have 8 gig of DDR5, and I think OpenCL is going to work a little better with the rest of the architecture of Windows and stuff, so never mind 4K editing. So I'm trying to decide here. There's some great options. If we look online here, you could see here's the the GTX 1060. You can get gigabytes. GTX 1060 is $296. It's got 4.5 stars, 84 ratings. That's a 6 gig card. You can get MSI's 6 gig card is $319.94. And I should point out that's where you're probably going to get a little cost savings with the RX 480 because it seems right now to be a little cheaper than the GTX 1060. Asus's 6 gig 1060 is $279.99 here. So there's some good offerings right around the $300 mark. Conversely, here's the RX 480, the 8 gig versions MSI's is $269. That's a really good offering. 4.5 out of 5 stars, 42 reviews. I like MSI. Asus has the RX 480 8 gig. Let's see, that's the 4 gig. We want the 8 gig. Where is the Asus? There it is. $299.99, so about $300, so very much on par. It says here Amazon's choice is the Sapphire Radeon Nitro RX 480 8 gig, and that's at $279. It's only got 4 out of 5 stars, 17 reviews. I'm never sure what Amazon bases the Amazon's choice on. In any case, as you could see here, there's some great offerings on both sides. GTX 1060, RX 480. I want to throw it out to you guys, especially those of you that are gamers and have tried both these cards. Or have just in-depth knowledge of this if you've built editing systems or have used either of these cards. What do you think? What card should I go with? GTX 1060, RX 480. Do you think the RX 480 at 8 gig is going to work better with Premiere Pro or work as well? Do you think Premiere Pro still lends itself more towards CUDA cores and the architecture of the GTX 1060, even though it's 6 gig DDR5? Do you think that'll be a better card? Let me know in the comments below. Let's discuss it. I'm sure I'm not the only one trying to decide here between these two value price cards. These aren't budget cards, but they're value priced. And so instead of spending $600, you can get a good 4K video editing card for $300 and under. $269 for the one RX 480 8 gig there from MSI that I got my eye on there. So let me know. Leave your comments below. Thanks very much. Appreciate the feedback. I'm trying to make my decision here. Thanks, folks. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon here at artoftheimage.com.